So I'm like, if it can run away from me, I don't think I need it.
I bring the city council meeting to order this day, Wednesday, September 11th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. We have in-person and virtual option available. May I get a roll call, please?
Corrigan here.
Askey here.
Potter here,
Johnson here.
and please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. City recorder, any agenda updates or additions? No updates or additions. Thank you. Consent agenda, financial statements. Oh, thank you. I got all excited. All right, we'll go back up to number 3, public comment, and we'll open the floor for public comment. This is not a dialogue time. This is where you get to stand and tell us your thoughts and tell us what you're thinking about and options and ideas that the council can then present and talk about and make happen for the community. So please, at this time, we'll start with the sign-up sheet. If I call your name and you're not interested in public comment, just say nay. Miss Patty Perrin?
Of course. Patty Perrin, 215 North Maple Street. I didn't make it to the last meeting, but I was on the phone listening. And I want to expand a little bit on the comment that Bob made in regards to speeding in town. Since then, for the last couple months, and I don't know what is going on, but it's rare that you see anybody driving on, and I'm gonna say Highway 47 because that's where I live. You all may be wherever, I don't know, but you don't see them. And a couple of examples that I'm gonna present to you, and this is very frustrating for me, is there was an SUV that pulled in front of the bank, headed toward Mac, parked on right in front of the bank, headed in the wrong direction. Yeah. My husband went out, took a picture of it, and got her license plate number, and she was not a happy camper when she saw him taking a picture of her license plate. But why she did that, don't have a clue. But that's happened numerous times over the last few months. One happened right in front of T&E one day. And then there was a big semi, which I commented, that was, for whatever reason, headed toward Mac and parked right in front of the bank, going in that direction. Anyway, so that's an issue, you know, when people do that. Then about 3 weeks ago, it was before noon, 2 Jeeps were headed out of town, going past my house, side by side, racing down 47. Not an officer to be found. Obviously, they weren't right there. But, and then yesterday, AJ was sitting down in front of the new business, you know, on 47 across from T&E. And it was at about 3:15, and I was sitting out on my porch with my radar gun, and there were multiple cars that went by between 28 and 32 miles an hour at 3:15 in the afternoon, right after the kids got out of school. And my concern with that is it's 20 miles an hour. And I mean, that happens daily. Every single day. There's a box truck that goes by my house in the morning, usually about 4 o'clock. And he drives by so fast, and it's consistent. He does it every day. He goes by so fast, I can't even see if there's any markings on the truck. And so it's out of control, in my opinion. I mean, when Travis was our only officer on duty, he was out there every single day, multiple times a day, stopping somebody. And I know he's the only one that I ever see stop anybody, you know, with the lights and the whole gamut. So I don't know what can be done to change this, but somebody's gonna end up dead on 47 because they're trying to cross the street and somebody's not paying attention. And they go and somebody just hits them and they're on the way. So just something to think about.
Thank you very much. Kim Kind?
Kim Kind.
Kind, thank you for correcting me. Okay. Ingrid?
No, thank you.
Junia?
No.
Chris?
No.
Steve?
No.
Pam?
No.
Robert?
Nope. Nope,
Are you sure?
been too busy, sorry.
Angela Cook?
No.
Is there anybody else here that would like an opportunity for public comment?
I'll change my mind.
Of course you can, please.
Can I get your name and? My name's Ingrid Denman and I live at 420 East Third, right across from the park. And I talked to Travis one day. The contractors are speeding up and down that road. And Travis told me, take a picture of the license plate. When they're speeding, you can't take a picture of a license plate. And it's constantly. And with all those homes going up, I'm afraid somebody's gonna get hurt. And with kids playing in the park, there's no time for speed. And my second thing is, there's a lot of people that did not get a flyer for the water shortage situation. Why did we not get one?
I don't know, that's a good question. We'll look into that.
They haven't posted around town on social media.
Yeah, I don't know that flyers.
If a lot of people aren't on social media, you know, like some of us old people, I have a hard time operating my phone, let alone anything else. How do they know?
Around town, this posted in 5 places. All of the notices always are posted at the post office, at the meeting board in the middle of town, on this TV, which faces outward in the evening. Those are the 3 physical places, and then they're also posted on the website and Facebook. We posted this on the online portal for the water bills. Unfortunately, it started, I think the paper water bills were sent out on the 29th of the month. And the 4th is when we received the notification. So they would go out on next month's water billing paper-wise.
What if you don't go downtown?
So you would receive it in your water billing.
No, I mean, you know, you said they're posted everywhere. Well, what if you
Yeah.
don't go downtown?
Well, those are the places that I'm letting you know, those are the places that are posted, so that's where I'd be looking for notices.
And
We
when you
can't-
receive your water bill, it'll be in your water bill as
Our
well.
next water.
The one, yeah, following the notice.
And I have to gripe about the police. I very seldom see them on East Third Street. I haven't seen a police officer in 3 weeks anywhere up in that area. And I'm not the only one that has discussed it. And so we just want to know, how many police officers do we have? And do they work all the time? I mean, I know they have to have probably 2 days off, but what's going on?
What do you mean, what's going on?
Well, when you don't see a police officer, it's concerning. You know, who do you call? And I mean, it's just, we have officers, but we don't see them. And that's my concern.
There is an officer on duty every single day. Every day,
Just one?
most of the time.
How many do we
Sometimes
have?
there's more. We have a police chief, we have a traffic officer, we have a corporal officer.
What's
And
that?
the corporal, it's a ranking, so he's like the person in charge kind of guy. We have volunteers who are reserve officers. One of them is deployed at the moment, and one of them is here giving his volunteer time as we speak.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment here? Okay, we'll go to online. If you are online and you would like to speak for public comment, please raise your hand or unmute yourself.
I see no hands raised.
Not seeing any responses online, we will go ahead and close public comment at this time. We already got the agenda update from the city reporter. Next is a consent agenda with the financial statement, which is current, and 2 of the council meeting minutes that have been prepared and presented for approval. Those were provided in the packet and we reviewed them prior to the meeting. Do you have any questions about any of that information?
It was all straightforward. 74 pages.
I know.
No questions.
No questions, no questions? Okay. At this time, I have no questions. May I get a motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Corrigan second.
And a vote.
Corrigan, aye.
Askia.
Potter, aye.
Jensen, I.
Committee reports, Planning Commission. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Good to be here. So last month, we approved a conditional use request for the daycare, just not outside of town, in town, but outside downtown. And it's great. They have a nice facility, it's already built, they have parking, and it's for 10 children. And my concern was, how is that regulated? If they wanted to do more, what would be required? And my concern was that it would grow and there wouldn't be any oversight over what was going on. But I was satisfied that they don't have a license to do any more. So the state will be making sure that it doesn't grow beyond the size it is now, because that's about the limit it can be. So I think it's a great thing. We recommended the lighting ordinance and I'll be here tonight if there's any questions. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Jay, what do you think? We'll find out later.
Yeah,
It was a read.
It was really interesting.
it was light reading. It's really easy to breeze through.
I'll just, I dropped
You like that?
right there.
Okay.
Set that one up.
And we will continue next week with the combining titles 10 and 11 into title 10, simplifying and modernizing. And that's a big technical process that is pretty interesting. Any questions?
No questions, but thank you for volunteering to do what you do for our city. Thank you. And Water Advisory Committee, which is Kathy Phillips as the chair. She's not present. She said there was no updates at this time.
Mayor, can I make a comment in regards to the water committee? It's just a short comment.
Please.
She's the secretary.
So, Patty Perrin, obviously again. We did talk briefly about not updating, but changing some of the verbiage in the water contracts so that it removes the surplus water, and Shelley is trying to find out how we can go about doing that. Because there's actually an additional 277 meters that are associated with the outside water districts. The additional homes on Pike and then the 5 homes on Buttercup. They're all, all of those are associated with surplus water, which is another half again as much, another half of what the city is already. So as long as those contracts can be, the verbiage for surplus water can be removed, then they can be included as part of the city as a whole, correct? Do you think, Shelley? For when it comes to water, when it comes to building and that kind of thing, they would be then potentially included because it wouldn't be considered surplus water. So that's something we're working on, because personally, I think it's a priority that we get that corrected somehow, so that they can be included.
Okay.
What were the ones besides Buttercup?
There's 53 out on Pike, 53 meters. I don't know how many people this consists of, but 53 meters. Woo.
Oh,
And-
light.
This is power outage.
Yeah.
Nope, you get it back. Nope,
Be able to get it back?
it's flipping in and out, so I will work on it.
Well, and by mine, I mean the one I'm using from the city.
I think it's going again.
All right, at this time, we're going to do a pro tem counselor application nomination. We had a counselor step down after 22 years of service to the community. And there's still 2 years left on her term to serve. And so we need, as a council, to appoint somebody to fill that gap until that term is finished. And so we asked for applications. We received an application from Kimberly Kind. I'm gonna write that down.
It's okay, I'll answer
Took me a
either.
few times to remember it too.
Kind. Which I'm grateful for. Thank you for the application. We really appreciate interested people. So we reviewed your application in the packet and we've gone through it. Council needs to discuss it and see if we accept the nomination. Is there, at this time though, is there any other nominations for anybody that is interested in pro tem counselor for the city council? Seeing no additional nominations, we will review the application. Counselors, do you have any input on the application we received for nomination?
I do.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know, right? No, I actually have the pleasure of being neighbors with Kim. And she worked for the Department of Forestry and assisted me professionally as well there when we have forest land outside of town. And she helped me as much or more as the forester ever did. So she was very professional and I enjoyed working with her. And she watches my dog when I'm out of town.
Is there a conflict of
That might
interest?
I don't think so.
Interest.
Marty also does.
Okay. Good to know.
There's the traffic accident call. It's up 47,
That's
Traffic.
on 47.
car into a pole.
Do you have to go?
No, it's Gaston.
Counselor Askey, do you have input or questions? Do you have anything of the candidate that you'd like to ask?
I don't think so. I don't have a dog that needs to be watched.
Marty's excellent.
Marty's excellent for dog watching?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Counselor Jensen,
I don't have
any questions for the candidate? Any questions for council? Input? No? Okay, so having reviewed all of the nominations and read the application and discussed it, we will go ahead, oh, we need to make a public comment. Actually, can we ask you, Kim, please, to maybe stand and tell us a little bit about why you're interested? That would be really.
Should I brought my resume?
No, well, this is great. I was really encouraged by the speech pathology, because I'm not a good.
I don't use it. So we've lived here 24 years. It's really hard to fit into this community, even after 24 years. It seems like there's also a problem with communication. So I think I would be amazing at helping bridge that, and that would be something I would really like to help you guys out with. Anything else? I don't usually speak in front of strangers, so I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be saying.
You'll learn to know everybody in this room if your nominations.
I will.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Is there anybody else that would like to present public comment and in response to the nomination for Kimberly Kind? You can go ahead and sit down.
I'll take kind too, it doesn't matter.
I always enjoyed my interactions with her. She's been, yeah, very friendly, very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think she'd be a good fit.
Any other public comment?
Communication.
Communication, that's a biggie.
Communication.
That's a biggie. All right, with no public comment, an applicant spoken, council deliberation, we've deliberated. Anything additional at this time? May I get a motion?
I make a motion to approve the application of Kim Kine as as a pro term city council,
No
pro
one's
town
sure I can have that
city
one.
council.
Askey second.
And a vote, please.
Oregon, aye.
Okay.
Askey, aye.
Otter, aye.
Jensen, I.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Please attend next month's council meeting and we will swear you in at that time and you can start immediately.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Actually, I do have a question now. Does that go two more? So that's like two.
It's got 2 years left, so it's
A little over 2
finished
years.
up this year
Okay.
and then next year and the year after.
Okay.
So December of 26. Are you willing to do that? Okay, thank you. Our city administrator, Shelley, will reach out to you. There's paperwork and things that have to happen, background checks, that kind of thing, to make sure you're suitable for the position.
No worries.
All right. You needed to go, huh? All right, ordinances, public hearing. Shelley, I have a question on this. It says first reading. I know that we need to do a second reading. Can we vote tonight on it without, or do we need to do a second reading next month and then vote?
So if you would vote tonight on it, if it was a unanimous vote for the first reading, then it would be enacted tonight. Is everybody here? Yes. If it is not a unanimous vote tonight, then we would need to have a second reading and it would be majority of the two. For
Okay.
both.
So it would wait another month for the second reading?
Correct, but it was posted in enough time that it can be a unanimous, sorry, vote in one
Unanimous.
meeting.
That's the pathologist that we need. Okay, ordinance public hearing. This is the ordinance. I'll go ahead and read the nature of the application. This matter comes before the Yamhill Planning Commission on the application of the city of Yamhill to amend Title 10 of the Municipal Code regarding the establishment of exterior lighting regulations. This was Chair Moore, can you maybe tell us what brought this up initially from the planning commission, why the interest in it? I know it's part of the economic development and part of,
Yeah, I think, I'm just thinking back. There was concern over, development, businesses. Lighting, being, intrusive and annoying. So it started with that. And then, we kind of asked, Walt to look into it,
our planning commissioner,
or planning.
City
planner.
city planner, thank you.
And he brought back a lot of lighting ordinances from local cities. Small ones like us. Well, maybe not that small, but Carlton and other towns in the area. And the motivation, you'll see in there, the reasons why are listed, actually. And those appealed to us. And we dabbled with going with residential, but we didn't find, it was kind of too complicated of a path to move forward on that. So that maybe it will happen another time. There was a lot of issues to resolve, mostly with porch lights. And I won't go into it, but it was very interesting. So we kept it to commercial. And there were reasons like light pollution, being able to see the stars. And also we found out that it's good for animals to have darkness and not have a lot of light spilling out of cities, birds and other nocturnal animals. But I think the main thing was that it not be intrusive. We learned this term of light trespass. And it's defined in there as being able to see the filament of a bulb. It's basically that. So it needs to be shielded. If light hits a building and reflects back and you see that, that's not a problem. But you're not supposed to be able to see the light source. And there's a diagram of that. That's explained pretty clearly.
It is actually, it's in great detail.
Yeah. So we learned a lot and we had a lot of great discussion and it took a while, but I think it's, well, we recommended it.
So Title 10 is part of the city code. And so in order to adjust and change it, we have to do a public hearing. We have to go through the planning commission, go to the council. And if the council doesn't agree, go to a second public hearing and a second voting. And so this is a big deal, changing the code.
That's right.
But your motivation to do it is to improve the environmental impact of light in our community.
Well,
Is that
yeah,
kind of-
environmental, including humans.
Well, our environment.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Was there anything missing from that answer? Maybe I just wasn't really prepared. That seems to sum it up.
Okay.
Shay, you were watching a lot.
Yeah,
of this, weren't
that's,
you?
so this started when I was on planning commission,
Oh, wow.
the initial stirrings of it. And so a lot of research has been done.
Yeah.
And there were complaints, too bright, too late, like all sorts of things to
Okay, yeah.
consider.
We have had concerns. The gas station down in the corner shining, the man that lives across the street is often here to say, what can we do? And this will do something. It's our business hours of operation now. So I think that's great.
Okay.
It was a good solution.
And that would take effect immediately, the hours of operation expected of the lights, not the businesses. But the
You know, there is a compliance time, we bounced around on
30
whether,
days.
30 days from the day that it is adopted.
oh, excuse me, if you're outside of the code, you have 6 months, a year.
Yeah, so if you had a business now that was not in compliance with the lighting system you have, you were given time to correct. Any new business would be subject to this ordinance in 30 days.
Okay.
We bounced around on how long we would give people to comply, and it was 2 years, a year, and I think we ended up at 6 months.
Yeah, each 13 is 6 months.
Okay.
But most of the requirements were simple things like, when you're done with business, turn the lights
Turn the
down.
lights off.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything that was, it wasn't requiring anywhere that I saw or that I recall, anybody having to replace lighting systems or anything. It was just the operating aspect of it for the most part.
We didn't see a whole lot of issues that needed to be fixed. It was, other than the one that I mentioned about the gas station on the corner. I just can't think of. And there were some residential standouts of issues that would have been affected had we gone with that. But it wasn't enough to motivate us to dig through it. We've been at it for months, and the commission decided, no, we're gonna put that on the back burner for now.
Okay.
There's some interest in moving forward later, but I'm not sure if that will come up for a while.
Maybe one step at a time.
Again, maybe let's see how this goes. And then also see if people are more aware of lighting. Maybe there will be more input from the community that something needs to change, rather than us thinking something needs to change. Get no more input.
I would have said the city planner also, he thought it was wise to just start with commercial for now.
You're non-residential.
Do you know if,
Yeah, non-residential, because it includes public buildings as well.
And the city,
Yeah, the city
the
buildings,
streetlights.
yes, and the streetlights. So these streetlights on 47, they would then need to be turned off,
I think shielded.
shielded.
Yeah, no, that's a business. I don't think the city falls under the business. Your neighbor, that street light on the corner that you mentioned.
Mhm.
I drove by there one night and that street light shines right into their upstairs bedroom window. Now, they have no covering on that window. Maybe they don't care. But if they came knocking on the door, I think Jason might have to climb up there and put some metal on that because bam, right in their house. I didn't think it hit you directly. I'm not sure you can see the
It's
building
not, it's
from your
indirect.
house. But from their bedroom, it's shining straight in.
Thank you.
So it's been interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
All right, and I'll be available for more questions.
Perfect. Thank you. I don't have any, well, I do want to make note that this is a change in the municipal code. And anytime there is a complaint to this change, it would be up to the city to then enforce the code, which would mean our staff would be responsible for taking that effort to make sure that the codes were enforced. We as a city also need to comply, which means we're going to need to be spending some funding to change, put shields on, get a lift, put the shields on, and adjust the city's lighting as well. So this is not something that's gonna be cost-free.
what lighting is out front?
Well, all the lighting on the buildings, the public buildings that are part of the city, so Public Works and I think Public Works has a huge area like that's out there, but there's nobody to see it.
Isn't that if
But
someone
still.
complains, then you change it?
No, in order to be in compliance, you need to do it within 6 months. So the city has 6 months to provide this change.
You know how much that will cost?
We don't have any idea.
How many, like, cause aren't there a bunch of lights like at the park and stuff too?
There is a bunch of lights at the park as well. And I know for security, we try to leave some of those on. So something to consider. We don't have to make a decision tonight. We can go to another vote next month. Okay, so I'm gonna open it up for public hearing and offer to the public an opportunity to share with us your thoughts on this. I know you probably haven't read the entire packet of municipal code information, but you may have some thoughts on lighting in the community and whether you would like to see it dimmed or limited, so it's not shining wherever it wants to shine. Please, Patty.
You know, I always have something to say. My only concern with putting this out too terribly far is the gas station across the street, the new one. Because this new lighting will affect what they end up doing. And if I'm not mistaken, is that correct, that it has to be in place before they submit their lighting to you all?
Or they have 6 months, but most I mean, I would assume most builders, if they know that this is upcoming, they wouldn't wanna do it one way and then have to switch it 6 months
Right.
later, so.
Right.
And that was the
Probably reach
initial
out to them.
motivation for addressing this in the first place, is that the new building and limiting what they can do for lighting.
Right. So that's my only
And if we wait
concern,
another month, it may be too late. Is-
and that was my concern. I mean, the gas station's not gonna affect me by any means, but it will Olive. You know, because they're gonna be right there. Anyway, just a thought.
Appreciate your concern. Thank you, Patty. Anybody else for public comment on this topic?
I would not dim the lights in the park. There's a lot of activity in the park at night. And if those lights go off, you don't know what's going on up
No,
there.
yeah, I didn't mean to turn them off. Sorry.
What's that?
Oh, no, I didn't, did you think I? Okay.
No, we were just talking
All
about
right.
it. Nobody thought you were going to
Sorry.
turn them on.
Yeah, because there's a lot of activity going on around it and everywhere, so you can't see if those lights aren't on. So,
And they don't affect you? You live right across, so they don't affect you?
no. Just the people in the park do.
So Ms. Ingrid, can I ask you a question in regards to this? The park lights, one of the things that this municipal code is requesting is that the lights be limited in how far they shine. And so they're not impacting residents around the lights. So if there's a light over the road, it's gonna highlight just the road because it will have a shield. It won't be just light that goes every which way. So in the park lights, you're saying you're not impacted, you don't get the light shining into your windows?
No.
And you're not impacted by that?
No.
Okay. If the lights were limited with a shield, how do you think that would impact the park?
You can't, I don't think you could see as much. And we don't have any lights down on that street anyway. I mean, that's
She's
street is-
darker than dark.
Yeah. I don't have any trick or treaters because it's too dark on that road.
Okay.
Those lights do naturally phase down already, so I don't think they would need shields the way they are.
Okay, we'll check them out for sure. It narrows down the code, so whether they would fit, we don't know yet.
So I think also that if we were to approve this, because this is very thoughtful, this ordinance.
Oh, this has been a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work, but there's nothing that says we can't come back in a week or a month or a year and add a variance for security. Or to add, for example, I mean, the city has so many light bulbs to adjust that maybe we take the things that are that affect people the most or complaint driven and ask for a bit more time to complete based on budget restrictions. Things like that, I think might be, I think, reasonable. The same way we would, I think, if somebody owned multiple properties in town. And this, it's gonna cost this much money and can I get another 2 months? I don't know that anybody would be terribly upset by that. If you were working towards the goal.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Good input. Mr. Davis, you had something?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
geez.
sorry.
Sorry, Steve.
My name is Robert Davis. I live 212 North Maple Street, right? Teddy corner from the bank. And I have a neighbor across the street who quit putting their porch light on because it shines directly within my picture window in my front room. And the person is sitting right behind me here, and she's kind enough to do that for me. That is the point of this whole deal, is to eliminate light that escapes, that it becomes intrusive to humans and animals. The ducks fly overhead twice a year, going north, going south. The light is so intrusive on there that they lose their bearings. With shielding, inexpensive item on every light, you would be protecting the environment and yourselves from all this exposure of lights. Can you imagine? Most gas stations have 10 lights that are 1,000 watts each. That's 10,000 watts of light under a canopy lighting the pumps that they have. Can you imagine that light escaping? Have you not drove by a business and go, oh my God, look how bright that place is. There's a business in McMinnville, right on the one-way street that is lit up like a billboard. How they get away with it, I have no idea, but all we're looking for is a starting point with this document. That's all we're looking for. And if it needs to be changed, so be it. If there's complaints about it, then we'll tweak it, whatever it happens to be. But it needs to be, I'm sorry, this is important. It needs to be decided tonight as far as I'm concerned, because I agree with Patty. There is the gas station that's going in that will do what it will do, and it'll put in its 10,000 watts of light. And then maybe fight the issue with a variance. So I would rather see us not go down that road and just go down the correct path. And if we need to change it or tweak it, we can. Thank you.
Mr. Davis. Steve, you changed your mind? Did you forget?
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I
You're welcome to speak.
Alright. First, I think everybody should be allowed to speak. I have no problem with that. But I'm gonna disagree. I believe in limited government, and I think the less we have, the better. So I get the businesses need to have some restrictions. Okay, that's fine. I don't know, I haven't read it, so I'm being fair. I don't think we have too many ducks that are getting lost going where they're supposed to go. They pretty much know how to do that. I think that's a little silly, in my opinion, but if you own property, as long as you aren't hurting anybody else, you should be allowed to do what you want on your property. As far as a business goes, I was a police officer for 10 years. I've done security, armed security for major businesses in the state of Oregon. And lighting is a huge thing for security, huge. It's probably the most important thing. So as long as it doesn't interfere with the business being able to protect itself and allow for that, I guess whatever you decide you're gonna do, but I think making rules to make rules is quite frankly silly. And I would hope that you guys can find better uses for time than lighting pollution. I think there's a lot more in town that we could figure out your uses for time to do than that, but that's just me. So that's all I have to say.
So can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. So if you knew that a gas station was going in and you knew what kind of lighting gas stations use, how would you address that without creating this type of code?
Well, again, I haven't read it, so I want to be fair with that, and I would like to read it, so I'll probably sit down and read it. I don't have a problem with that, but as far as businesses go, I think that's a little different than residential, so I will stipulate to that. But again, I think we have to be reasonable. If you turn all the lights off of a gas station, or say you have to have them off after the hours of operation, that's a perfect target for somebody who wants to break into that business, and it's happened. Back when the bar in Carlton was Piper's, Carlton did a similar thing and it got broken into. They stole the safe, stole the ATM out of it, found that thing up above Hag Lake up in the woods, shot up, and they stole all the money out of it. So so there is security issues, and small town, Gaston got hit. I don't think Yamhill did, but Carlton, Gaston, and I think Lafayette got hit. So 3 small towns, approximately the same size as this town, got hit. This was, of course, 10 years ago, but you don't have 24-hour police coverage here. And I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying you don't. It's a factual statement. Neither did Carlton at the time, and you don't have people on at 4 o'clock in the morning generally, because most people in this town, the sidewalks are rolled up and they're in bed, which makes sense. But that's also when the bad guys know that something's gonna happen. So if if you live right across from something, I guess to me, it's a little different than the gas station up here on the corner that's been there for years and years and years and years. And then you move in next door and you wanna start complaining. It's kind of like the people who move next door to the airport and then wanna complain about the airplanes flying overhead. You didn't see the airplanes flying overhead before you bought the place. Maybe you should have thought that through a little more. So this one's new. So I guess that's a little different to me if you want to change it, but I almost think there should be a grandfather clause for some of these places, so. Because what you're doing is saying, now that you've had this the way it is for years and years and years, we're gonna make you change it. It could cost a small business that doesn't make a lot of money thousands and thousands of dollars. And I think I think Mr. Askey and Mr. Corrigan brought up a good point that you guys could make some spread that out longer if people are having issues. I think that's a good idea at the very minimum, but I don't know, I just think, laws are there for a reason. We really need a law, do it. If we don't really need a law and it's nobody's not bothering anybody, at that point, I don't know, I just don't see the point.
Thank you very much. And just for reference, this is only for businesses and.
Right, I understood that it's for businesses, but you were talking about down the road doing, and me, I guess I'll say this last thing. If you were my neighbor and you came to my house and said, your light's bothering me, I'd shut my light off, right? I know not everybody's that way, but it's to a point in this world where the first thing we do is call the police. It's like, why don't you just go knock on your neighbor's door and talk to your neighbor, right? I mean, if something's bothering you, go talk to the neighbor real quick. If they start screaming and cursing at you, that's a different story, but most people, if you're polite and reasonable, they're polite and reasonable back. There are those that are jerks, but I think a lot of things, instead of having people take care of their own problems, their first thought is, why don't I get you guys to do it for me? And my answer is, why don't I go do it? I'll knock on my neighbor's door anytime and say, excuse me, sir. And if I don't know you, that's a good chance for me to get to know you. So, and we've lost some of that in this. I can tell you every one of my neighbors. So there's been times where my neighbor's door wide open in the middle of the night. Again, I used to be a police officer, and so I went and cleared their house for them, knocked on the door, announced myself, made sure they were okay, because I knew there weren't any cops on. Had my wife call 911, make sure that somebody's coming, but make sure they're okay. And that's what neighbors do. Look out for one another. We're a small town. We should be able to look out for each other. So, and if somebody complains about the business, then maybe at that point we start looking at that and telling them that they've gone excessively, but we don't even, do we have a report of what they're gonna put up? Do you guys know what that is yet?
It's gonna be like a chevron.
Okay. But I mean, what is it gonna be? And what's the lighting plan that they're proposing? I mean, before they've even done anything, and without talking to them, we're saying.
We're trying to preempt that.
I get it, but could we not have a conversation with them and say, what's your plan before just shutting them down? I mean, maybe they're gonna be reasonable, and you gotta remember, electricity costs them money too. They don't necessarily want to have, every light in the business on. I know when I'm running businesses, I don't want that, so. Because that hits my bottom line. So, and small businesses like this is probably gonna be, which probably isn't, maybe it's owned by a corporation, but I would assume most things in town are owned by one or two people. And margins are pretty tight, especially right now with inflation and cost of goods, fuel. So that's just my thoughts. And again, I appreciate the gentleman's comments and this gentleman's, all his hard work. I realize that they don't get a lot of credit coming down to the planning commission and spending their time doing that. So I don't do it. So I definitely appreciate him, and I appreciate his comments and having some thoughts. It's good to see people down here commenting and taking pride in their community. So even though I disagree, I really appreciated them getting up here and speaking. So, and I hope I didn't make fun of anybody or disrespect anybody. That wasn't my goal.
That's the whole point, having two sides of the story, right?
Mayor, can I make a comment in regards to what he was talking about, the lighting? So there's nothing that I understand. You all know me.
He's right.
As far as I know, there's nothing in there that indicates they can't have some kind of low indoor lighting on after they close. It's specifically for the outdoor. Am I right?
No, it actually does have clause in there, I think, on the indoor.
But they can have some kind of low lighting or whatever on the interior of the business after they close. Is that correct? Because that wouldn't affect the outside lighting.
When you're done, I'll address
Okay.
all these issues.
Because I hear what he's saying.
My thought is though, is indoor lighting is less, as far as security goes, is less important than the exterior lighting. Exterior lighting is what keeps bad guys away. Especially, I mean, you know, their security lighting, that's, when you flood an area, that's why we, as police officers, we tell you cut your bushes back, put motion detector lights in, and that's an option, you know, as long as that maybe they go on. But again, people might complain about that because they flicker on and off, and that could be more annoying than it's just on all the time. But, you know, exterior lighting is actually way more important as far as security goes than interior lighting. I mean,
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. And Ken, I'm gonna ask you to come back and kind of address some of the concerns, but I want to give the people online an opportunity to share before we do that. If there's anybody online that is interested in the public hearing and expressing their thoughts on this particular subject, please unmute yourself or raise your hand. And when I say raise your hand, not your personal hand, but your internet hand, your Zoom hand, virtual hand. Thank you. I'm not seeing any raised hands at this time.
can I ask, where can we get a copy of that to read? That's all I want to ask.
It's on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Also, there's a pack.
Yeah.
Somebody take the packet.
It's okay, I can get online, if it's online, I can read it, so.
Actually, you know what, my friend, I have mine digital and I have an extra packet that,
That's the whole
Thank
package.
you, Mr. Porter.
oh wait, that's the whole packet.
No, I'll look at it online later, it's fine.
I'll take it out for you.
Okay. Thank you though, I just wanted to know where to find it.
I can be helpful.
Mr. Moore, did you want to address the concerns?
Sure,
Thank you.
we went in 5, 6, 7, 8 other cities have done research. It led us to be interested, and we felt we were behind. And there's a number of ways that we're behind in as a city. And we're doing some catch up. We've been throwing a lot of stuff at you over the last few years. And a quick AI search will confirm that city lights can and do affect disturbed bird migration in Oregon. And you can just ask, and exhaustion, psychological or physiological changes, disorientation, it's all there. It happens. The security lighting, there is a security on page 11. E's, general requirements, subsection 7. All security lighting fixtures shall be shielded, so it won't spill off the property. Again, you won't see that lighting to the edge of the business is not a problem. Comply with lighting standards to be directed only to the designated area and not illuminate other areas. Sensor activated security lights shall be automatically turned off after 5 minutes after being activated if no additional motion light or infrared radiation is detected. And you could argue whether something going on and off is more irritating than being on all night. That would be for the council to decide. But there is provision for security lighting. As far as indoor, there can be light that comes outside from a window, for example, from the inside to the outside. Again, it needs to be shielded if it's gonna cross the street. I mean, if it's gonna go off the property, it needs to be shielded. So just because it's indoors, you can't shine a spotlight out a window. That's also covered. So those were the two. I don't mean to change all your mind. I just wanted you to be able to have the facts to consider.
No, I appreciate the fact.
You bet.
Ken, one quick question before you're done.
Yeah.
As in regards to the parking lot lighting, is if it says right here, that parking lot lighting shall be downcast, fully shielded with strict limits on light trespass. Can they leave their parking lots on overnight? I don't see where it says you cannot.
If it was I think that just falls under a business is within its business hours. So like the bank parking lot, I think they would need to turn off their light.
Okay.
Now, if they want a security light on the same pole or have that light be a security light, it could come on and according to the section that I
They do
read.
have a motion sensor light that I think they
I
use at
think the
night.
Mac does, yeah.
Yeah,
Now, a parking lot like that, you might get it might get pretty annoying. They might want to have some lower level lighting that comes on. You can see how it gets complicated.
But again, I think with what the gentleman said and what you're saying now and what we were talking earlier, is some of those little details may be something that comes up that we can easily adjust and change in the future. Yes? I think so.
It is, I took some pride in that we really dug into and paid attention to how this affect, and that's because it got so complicated with residential lighting, because we really would have had to gone through a whole lot longer process to deal with the questions that were coming up about that in a way that we had addressed the commercial lighting so carefully that we put it off, because we did want to get it done so that we could get ahead of any new development. So that was one reason why we said, not now, because we weren't finding an easy path. But we tried to think through as many details as possible. Of course, we're not perfect. So yeah, if something comes up, then we'll make it better. But I think this isn't just like, oh, let's try this, see if it works. I think, like I said, we took the best of the surrounding cities and then even modified it more to meet our needs. So it was pretty carefully thought through. Now, these are good thoughts and good for you to think about, because he wasn't on our commission. We would have had a much more interesting discussion if he was. So here we go. Have fun.
are there any vacancies on your commission at the moment? Just asking for a friend.
I think Lynn is not gonna come back, and that may have been his last meeting, so I think the answer is yes.
There may be an opening
Yeah,
here
Linda.
soon. Okay, good to know. All right, at this time, with no additional comment, we'll close the public hearing. And it's now up to council to discuss and then vote how you feel is best. Any discussions, questions? I know we all read through this in great detail. I do want to mention that there is exemptions. The exemptions would be flag lighting, decorative lighting, string lights, decorative lights that are temporary, lighting for emergencies, those kinds of things would be exempt. So it does outline almost every detail of what kind of lighting and how it's addressed. And so there's a lot of definitions in here on the various lighting options. So we would have a good template to go on. Discussions?
Yeah, I think just what's come up is just that it's gonna be some details that are very specific to a certain business or a certain place where they may want a variance for such a reason is security, or the park, maybe it's better to have, a light on constantly there that's shielded or some such thing.
Okay.
I don't think that those are things that we can address every detail of every business right now. But I think that it's easy to make adjustments where it needs to be made.
I agree. I think even public buildings are gonna have some questions on how it's gonna impact them as well. Any more discussion? Any discussion, Counselor Askey?
I appreciate Steve's comments as well from the other side. The last thing that I want to do is turn Yamhill into an HOA. And, but I also kind of feel like, since we're not dealing with the residential side, like this is more of like, I can't remember the exact name, but the one that what buildings, how they have to kind of match new building, commercial.
The city facade.
Yeah.
And maintaining the
So it's more
the
of
look and
like,
feel.
yeah, an ordinance to keep it Yamhill.
Mhm.
So So like, keep everything in line kind of before, like Main Street turns into Las Vegas Strip. So, and I like that we can change it or adjust it if needed. I can see, I don't live anywhere near the gas station, and I can see the rainbow glowing beams in the sky from it. So it is a little bright.
Yeah, sounds like it. Counselor Jensen?
Big deal will just be the cost that it's gonna have for the businesses and being willing to work with them, because they may need more than 6 months. But to see progress, that they are working towards it, but to be willing to work with them, I think is gonna be important.
There's an economic development grant funding for local businesses. Is that something that they could use to develop their business to?
I don't know, I'd have to see what the criteria is that's been established around that. I would, at my first glance, I would not think that that would be suitable.
It would not be. I don't think it would be either, but it would be worth looking into.
Yeah,
Just
just have
in
to see
case.
what kind of request we had. I think it might be smarter to give them more time than to give them money, but because that's specific for creating economic development opportunities, not fixing existing businesses.
They can still use that sign as long as it's off.
Use what
Right.
sign?
Are you specifically talking about the gas station?
No.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. There's a fund that the city's had for years, an economic development
That's right,
fund.
okay.
That I know you're aware of,
Mhm.
that local businesses can access.
Yeah.
And borrow a certain amount of money and then, pay it back over time to the city to help develop their businesses to be more productive. And nobody ever accesses it.
Do any of the local businesses, are they aware of that we're looking at this, or will it?
No, this will be a nice surprise.
This was
Maybe we can
noticed.
include that grant information.
They were noticed?
I mean, the public notice went out, but this
Oh,
was.
this is being talked about, and there was a public hearing available to them at the planning commission.
Which was also public.
So they've had the opportunity,
Yeah,
but they haven't been
directly.
directly informed. Okay. Counselor Jensen? Yeah. You good?
Yep.
Are we ready for a motion? All right, can I get a motion, please?
My turn. I make a motion to approve ordinance 544 exterior lighting regulation, commercial non-residential as submitted.
Second, Heskey second,
Can I get a vote, please?
Corrigan, I.
Heskey aye.
Or nay?
Jensen, I.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. The ordinance has been approved at this time.
We'll have to do a second
It has to be
reading.
unanimous.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, I set that up, didn't I?
Not unanimous.
Dang. Forgot about that. Okay, so we'll bring it back again next month,
Maybe we can bring it to their station.
which will be another opportunity for public hearing for the businesses to attend and understand the changes. Okay, resolution. All right, unfinished business is resolution R 827, resolution establishing the Economic Development Committee. Speaking of economic development, we've had a subcommittee of the Planning Commission that is the Economic Development Committee. the city, and Shelley, I'm sure you can speak more of this better than I can. But the city would like to bring that economic development to the forefront and make it a committee appointed by the council as its own.
Direct subcommittee of the council rather than of the planning commission, which has received the blessing of the planning commission as well as the members of the economic development committee. So this would just mean that they would report to you directly rather than going to planning commission and planning commission coming to you. And then, so the resolution changes the language to say that, and it also changes it to create the positions that serve on the committee rather than individual names, because that allows us then to keep this resolution in place without changing it every time the members change. We just have the position, so a member from, you know, the downtown business core, a member from just general at-large citizen of city staff, those sorts of things, rather than my name or Patty's name or somebody like that. So it just does those two things. It moves it underneath the council and then it changes it to position rather than names. Those are the changes. Otherwise, the resolution remained as it was.
And the purpose of the Economic Development Committee is to perform research into economic development questions, consider options regarding economic opportunities, development and investments, investigate grant and funding options for economic development in the city, and recommend code updates to the Planning Commission and make recommendations to the City Council concerning economic development for the city of Yamhill. Well written. And we currently have an Economic Development Committee. We just changed their status. Or
Their size, did you say?
we changed just their status.
Oh, their status, yes,
But they still have the
Yeah, the
members.
people are still the same. We just put the position rather than the name. So city administrator, public works manager, a YDA representative, an at-large member, a planning commissioner, a downtown business representative, and one resident who lives inside the UGB.
And my point in asking that question, is there any vacancies on that committee at this time for any of my friends that might be interested?
Not currently, but we can
Okay.
always look at, anyone that's interested is always welcome to contact me and we can keep up with that for when we do have a vacancy.
Excellent, thank you. And this does not need to be open for public hearing, correct?
No, just needs to be authorized by council.
All right. Council discussion?
I think it is changing some verbiage just in order to make things more smooth in the future.
Better managed.
Mhm.
Agreed. So no discussion? Motion, please?
I make a motion to approve R827, a resolution establishing the Economic Development Committee.
Heskey second.
A vote?
Corrigan, I.
Heskey, aye.
Potter, aye.
Jensen, I.
Thank you, council. Move on to resolution number R828, a resolution authorizing the Economic Development Committee to conduct research on designating the city of Yamhill CBD.
Central Business District overlay.
Thank you. I was thinking something else.
You're right.
As a historic district, so I'll repeat that. A resolution authorizing the Economic Development Committee to conduct research on designating the city of Yamhill Central Business District as a historic district. Okay.
So this, again, is mostly housekeeping and cleanup because this resolution was actually written prior to my time here. And it just never actually received a resolution number and came before council.
Oh.
So this is essentially establishing this work for the Economic Development Committee to conduct. The idea was that they wanted to look at making the downtown business core a historic district, which would help then obviously with the formula business efforts and, you know, creating that downtown core that has a unique look for when the commission and committee decides, council rather decides what that would be. So This would authorize them then to look into research and grants and such for creating that designation. So it's just creating the resolution for it.
I want to read the first paragraph real quick, just for the record. The city of Yamhill, Oregon is currently on the National Register of Historic Places, including the John Marion Bunn House, a turreted Victorian house in which Beverly Cleary spent the first 6 years of her life in the city of Yamhill, Oregon. The Lee Laughlin House, a Victorian home which was the residence of Lee Laughlin, located in the city of Yamhill, Oregon. And then it goes into the district, which is what we're talking about now, is the downtown area district, making that historical. Is there any discussion from council on this? Please.
Oh, thank you. It seems a little bit ambiguous because it asks to designate the entire district as a historical district and down to the central business district overlay. But I think it also can happen piecemeal. So somehow the words just they change a little bit to include, it's not just researching, boom, the whole thing. It could build, didn't think of how to make it a little more inclusive. That researching the buildings that could be declared
Creating the
historic.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. I think my understanding from this was that this was giving authorization to the committee to research and look into creating an historic district within the downtown business core. And I think we might have some flexibility within that committee to do.
A historic district.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure that's quite what it said, the headline. What does it say?
Designating the city, designating the
Central
Yamhill
Business
Central
District.
Business District as an historic district.
It sounds like the whole thing all at once.
It does.
And I just don't think that's necessarily what would happen. It needs to happen.
What is
That's
your
not the only thing they
recommendation?
would research. They
What's
would
your
research.
recommendation, Mr. Moore?
I've struggled here, but
I think what we could do is, we could go ahead and authorize the resolution today and create it. Allow the Economic Development Committee to do the research and look into that with the caveat that that would be something we might not want to create for the entire district. And then we could come back with a, amendment to this resolution.
So if the intent is to look at designating the entire district a historic district, then it's correct. I was not clear if that was the intent or whether it might be a building at a time. The whole thing or a building at a time.
It discusses that in one of the whereases, the property owners and landowners, as well as high-level architectural integrity would be addressed for the district. And it talks about tasking the Economic Development Committee with locating historic buildings, contributing to the historic character, presenting their findings to the city council for discussion of zoning and rezoning for historic preservation. So it sounds to me like they're gonna go building to building and determine its historic value and how it relates.
I agree. And it just sounded a little different from the headline there. But you understand my thought. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, and also I'll just say this headline was not changed from its original form, so.
Okay.
Can I speak?
It's not open for public comment at this time. It was just the planning commissioner that was sharing. Thank you. Okay, council discussion.
So I think, this is just, they're conducting research on it. So part of that research could simply be, we don't want the entire central business district. It could be, instead of Visalia South, it could be from Maine South. Or they could add a block into it. It gives them flexibility to add or subtract as they would see fit.
Doing the research to make those determinations.
So I don't think that
They
we're
don't know that
limiting
now.
anything or that our scope is too wide. I think that's part of what they're talking about doing is to perform the work to determine that.
Exactly. I agree. Any discussion?
Nope, I agree with Shank.
Discussion? I'm in agreement as well. So let's get a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution number 8R828, a resolution authorizing the city of Yamhill Economic Development Committee to conduct research on designating the city of Yamhill's Central Business District as historic district.
Jensen second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
SBI.
Potter, I.
Jensen, I.
My only question is, why didn't we do that sooner?
We should have done that soon.
All right, resolution R 829, a resolution updating the Water Advisory Committee previous resolution language. A resolution of the City of Yamhill Council updating the language for the temporary Water Advisory Committee and appointing positions to the Water Advisory Committee. So this changed in the previous resolution, it listed each person's name on the committee rather than the positions that they hold. And as those positions change, it would put that agreement out of agreement. So we're making it an all-purpose agreement just by using the titles of the voting members of the Water Advisory Committee. And that's, I think, the whole purpose of this resolution. Okay.
That was, again, just changing the names, because this listed specific names that aren't on the committee anymore. So instead of having to update this every time it changes, we've just changed it to position, which would include EOC Director, Public Works Director, City Administrative Staff, City of Yamhill Council Member, 2 residents, and an outside Water District resident, and then a non-voting member, which was the engineer.
Any discussion? No? Motion?
I move to approve R 829, a resolution updating the Water Advisory Committee previous resolution language.
Jensen second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
SBI.
Potter, I.
Jensen, I.
All right, we're on to new business, Parks Master Plan Proposal Discussion.
Okay, so this is just informational at this point, but I wanted to bring the council up to speed on a meeting that Jason and I had, as well as Walt, with Philip Higgins of YDA and our Economic Development Committee. He serves on that. And Greenworks, which is a landscape architecture firm, on a proposal to update Jane Heinrich Park. And they submitted a proposal that was not within our budget at this time, so it's not something we're gonna move forward at this time with, but within that was a Parks Master Plan update, and that caused us to realize our Parks Master Plan is 23 years old. So it's probably time, and Walt's advice again is plans are pretty much the key to grants. So your plans need to be up to date if you want grants, and anything we're gonna do to update our parks is probably gonna come significantly through grant money. So so pretty much I want to just update you guys on the actual proposal. It's kind of, I want to get your opinion on it, and then figure out how and if we want to move forward on some pieces of it that we can do even now without the specific budget to do the bigger thing. So in August, we met with Greenworks, which is a landscape architecture firm, and they specifically came with a proposal for Jane Heinrich Park, which would create economic development opportunities for Yamhill, which is actually the exciting piece of this, because not only would it update the park and potentially update the Parks Master Plan, but it would be a unique economic development opportunity for Yamhill, which is one of the council's goals and something we obviously need in the community. So according to Philip, there is an increasing demand in the region for additional softball fields to accommodate weekend tournaments that happen. I was unaware of this, but it's been confirmed by several sources that apparently there's softball tournaments that happen at weekends and all through schools throughout the community, and they never have enough schools or parks to play at. And so it's a prime opportunity for us to develop one of our parks and add some softball fields. And the concept is add parking, expand parking for temporary weekend only use RV parking, because there's not enough places for people to stay because they stay for the weekend for these tournaments, and like a space for like food trucks and stuff. And so we basically bring a bunch of people into town to the community to spend time here for these softball tournaments, and then essentially spend money in our community at the businesses. And so the idea is to upgrade the park to create the space for this. and create those economic development opportunities. Their proposal comes with $137,000 price tag, which sounds inexpensive when you're talking about updating a park. However, that's just the key piece of putting the plan together before any engineering happens or any construction happens. So it's expensive. And again, most of this is going to be grant funded, so that's going to require a lot of research. They have offered to help us find grants. Philip has offered as well, but it's going to be a time intensive project for that. So the pros of the idea are an updated master plan, upgrades to Jane Heinrich Park, potential economic development opportunities, meets the council's goals to increase family-friendly opportunities and increase economic development opportunities. Grants are available but require staff time. Potential grants could be found at Oregon State Parks, Ford Family Foundation, and potentially federal earmarks. And Regional Solutions, which Philip also serves on, may also have some ideas of where to get money. The good news is that one piece of their proposal, which is updating our master plan, is 100% SDC eligible. And we have SDC funds, so we could
And it
update our
covers
master
it.
plan.
And it covers it. The SD
Yeah.
covers the
It's-
full amount.
I'd have to look at the number, but I want to say it's $25,000 piece, and we have significantly more than that in parks SDCs. So that would get us, we have 478,000 right now in our parks SDCs.
Okay.
But as of right now, the only piece of the proposal they offered us that I know of without doing further research is the master plan could be paid for using SDC funds. I'm not sure of any of the other pieces right now that could be, have to look into that. So the cons obviously are that it's an initial plan concept only and does not include surveyors, civil engineers, structural engineers, electrical engineers, environmental scientists, geotechnical engineers. It's also just the plans for developing the plans for the park. So we'll have engineering fees, construction fees, and obviously the other big issue is fields will need to be watered, and we don't have the water for it.
And moved.
So we would need to look into that. However, because this is going to be a time-intensive project requiring lots of research and grants, and our water projects are ongoing, I don't see why there's any reason we wouldn't want to potentially begin the process now simultaneously, parallel tracks, and as water, if the tie-in option or something moves forward, we can get more water to the city, and this is moving along, then we're that much closer to developing it. How many ever years down the road that it takes for us to get there. But we can do the Parks Master Plan in the near future and have that in place to allow us to apply for grants, then would allow us to potentially get the funds. And at some point when water is available, then move forward on the idea.
Okay. And this would bring in fees and space rent fees and.
Potentially, yeah, so for the
Park usage
RV, for
fees.
food trucks, for that, and that there's other, we started talking, maybe we could truck place here permanently or in the summertime and, just to increase. But the idea is then that these outside dollars would come to the community.
Which could potentially pay for the cost of the water to
Well,
maintain the property.
Potentially, yeah,
If there's
part of
a water
that, and then the upgrade of keep of the parks and stuff. But also, the idea is, long-term, it would create a demand for additional businesses to open up in Yamhill, thereby creating further economics. So maybe they want more coffee shops, or more sandwich shops, or an ice cream shop, or a bicycle shop, or something like that. So it could, create that opportunity for the city. So obviously, we would have to, check before moving forward with any of this. We would, look into other potential companies to just ensure their prices are comparable and, go out to bid potentially, check references and all that. And Walt actually already sent me several firms that we could look at if we did want to move forward, just to get some comparable prices.
Did Greenworks come to us, approach us first?
Philip came to us and he had been talking with Greenworks. So how those two connected, I'm not sure. But they came to us through Philip.
With the proposal.
With the proposal,
Okay.
yeah. They had it prepared. And so
Have we run this by our current city engineer?
I have not engaged them yet because it's a little early for that, but the meeting included the landscape firm, Jason, myself and Walt. And our thinking was our current engineers are so broad and do so much for us. We would obviously look at their fees because they do have landscape architecture as well. But it might be nice to have somebody who specializes in this and do this for us. So we would just have to see how the bids shook out when we got that far. But we really were impressed with their proposal. And we took a field trip over there and took them over there, and they were aghast at how large this is. This much larger than we thought. So they were happy about that because they gave them a lot of options too. So there's some question about what would happen with public works facilities right there and how it would impact that. And then the road would, or the drive would need to be expanded, which would then involve ODOT, which could create some complications potentially, but that's down the road. So, so I guess my purpose for bringing this tonight, besides just informing you, was to find out your overall impression as far as support for the idea of this concept, adding softball fields and the economic development opportunities. Do you like that? Do you agree that that's a good potential opportunity for the city? And therefore, you know, want to move forward with updating the master plan, looking into having me spend the time to look for grants for this kind of an opportunity. The master plan, by the way, would update all three parks. So it would not just be Jane Heinrich, it would include an update to all of those. And I should add, our current master plan does not preclude us from doing this work at Jane Heinrich Park. There's nothing in it that says that would prohibit this kind of development, but it's just so old that it wouldn't, our people with the grants would probably, you know, say, come back to us with an updated plan. Try to apply for the money.
We've been talking about developing that park for years now. And I would be very excited to see us move forward on this. I would like it to go out to bid, or at least have a discussion with AKS, our city engineers, and see if they can outmatch, because they're very aware of the land. They've already got all the sketches. They know what we're working with. They're familiar. And so they may be able to do it at less than that. But this is a great proposal. And if we have the map, it would be fun to show the people what the proposed idea is. Do we have that? It's in the packet.
Is it on the packet electronic?
Oh, no, it's not in the packet.
The last page. And actually it was.
It was in the email. Okay.
No, it was not.
I don't think it's in there. That's okay.
But if anybody would like to see it, I'm more than happy to share. I do have plans that they shared with me that are drawn. I probably should have pulled them out. I could probably.
It was very cool. And the dog park, they included a dog park in there, and upgrades to the trail, and they thought of everything.
Yeah.
So that
So-
was very cool.
I guess just general consensus of council as far as direction on that.
Council, what's your thoughts?
I don't think I'm in favor.
I guess Kyle has some.
I think it would be very important to find out what our current outdated master plan says and to make sure it's not outdated and just it's not 24 years old and still applies. You know, maybe a few tweaks can be made to that document before we just throw it away for 137,000.
No, the plan wouldn't cost us 137,000 to update. The whole proposal that they came to us with for their piece of this is 137,000.
And that's just plan. That's not actually.
Yeah, but that's the whole plan for the whole proposal, the whole Jane Heinrich proposal, and it includes an updated master plan within
I see.
it. So the updated master plan, I think, is around $25,000, but we could see what other firms would charge us to update our master plan. But Walt's advice to us is, if you want to move forward on any updates to your parks, you need an updated master plan.
Sure.
And they said only 25,000 for the master plan portion of it?
I need to.
Because that's, 4 years ago it was 40,000, so that's shocking to me.
I could be wrong on that. Actually, I do have a copy of
That's
the.
great.
Is this it? Yeah, this is the old master plan, if, or the current master plan, not the old one. If you want to look at it. Park system plan, sorry, it was 34,752 was their proposed number. And I didn't include this because we're not moving forward with this. This is just
A discussion.
Yeah.
And this would not include the Jonathan Calhoun Park.
No, it doesn't.
That does not, and the new one would include all three. Yeah, that's not listed in there.
Okay, did you want to see this, Shay?
I need to update the plan if we're gonna start looking at grants.
Yeah, in order to grant money, because they'll come back and say we need more information.
Right. And then I think the other thing that's really super important here is the last question that is listed here for questions for council. Do you support pursuing this even though we're still working on increasing water supply to the city? Unless we want to get run out on a rail, I mean, I'd suggest turf. It was Officer Livingston's idea. The greenest field in town is in Carlton for the soccer field and it's real nice and they don't water.
Yeah, but there's no dog.
This is a softball field, so.
And again, I
they
do
can
think
run.
we are many years away from actually
sure.
making that.
But I think it would be important to
This
make
is
that
the
statement that,
first step.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. Because what will happen is somebody will say they're planning on watering giant softball fields. And I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, until we
I
get the
hear
water.
Go ahead.
I am in favor of doing the updating the master plan and developing that park. I think that I feel like that park is maybe as popular as Beulah Park. Like there's people constantly going on walks through there. And I would hate to take that away, parts of that away from them with parking lots for people from out of town and RVs spending the night there and stuff. Like I don't think that might not go over very well. And I just feel like there's more accessible things than softball. That affects like a small portion of a lot of people, but a lot of them are from out of town. But I know I understand what he's doing, like we need the money, but like, if we wanna like lean into bikes or something, do the pump track, like.
Is your concern that it would impact people using the trail and they wouldn't want to because it's too crowded?
If you turn it into a nice softball fields and RV parking, I probably wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
I don't know,
The trails won't be impacted by the softball fields.
yeah.
I think ultimately, the master plan needs to be updated. And so I think going out to bid on that and seeing what that's gonna look like, what that's gonna cost, I mean, that's gotta be the first step. And then the rest would be the details, yeah.
Kyle, Public Works, you want to say something?
I would just be aware that floods every winter, so where we can put RVs or whatever.
Yeah, they did
usually,
talk about that when they were out there.
but
Above my
I would just,
head.
I don't know how turf handles flooding, I don't know. But that's usually underwater in
That
the,
floats.
usually underwater in the winter, so I'd have that,
We did talk about
have
that,
them
what they
aware
would
of
need.
that before they start making
Yeah, what
plans.
they would need to do to mediate that. They did talk about that, but that was a
Well,
little
it's the water to
technical for
water
me.
the grass.
Pardon?
That's the water to water the grass. that
Yeah, the
we-
winter, we don't really need that though.
It's an inconvenient timing thing
Yeah.
without water, isn't it?
Say wastewater can be used to water fields, I just was looking up.
TQ is very fickle with that, right?
I was being sarcastic, Ken.
No,
It would be in the winter when the fields
I
flooded.
mean in the summer, class A wastewater.
TQ doesn't,
Do we produce class A wastewater?
we're not allowed to land apply in our off discharging season.
We're not allowed to what?
Discharge in our off waters and our non-discharging season, we can't land apply or nothing.
So when we need the water, we can't use the water.
Correct.
Can't use the wastewater?
So from April 30th to November 1st, we can't discharge or use that water for anything. As it is, as our permit is currently.
Okay. I'm looking up a document
Just to add some,
about, it's Oregon document about what you can do with wastewater. Internal. Implementing Oregon's recycled water use rules. 2009, but anyways, the Class A water can put it all on, but you know more than I do.
Well, they know they didn't,
Because the parks where I live, I mean, that's, the trails are a huge part of that. But I mean, they've incorporated it with baseball fields, softball fields. I mean, it hasn't impacted the use at all. If anything, it's increased it because people are there doing more things. But the wastewater part, I mean, they've got signs all over the place, do not drink from the sprinklers because this is wastewater, but they are using that. I'm sure there's probably different
They probably
permitting
have
process.
different permit, different
Yeah,
permit.
I'm sure, but that could be part of
What
the
city is that?
Tiger Cook
That's
Park.
good to know.
Yeah, I'm sure they have a different permit than we have.
Okay, so we've had a discussion. Do you need us to take a vote
So
on?
it sounds to me like there's general support to update our master plan, there's general support to develop the fields in the future, or the park in the future. Obviously, it requires additional time, so updating the plan would allow me to go for particular grants that could potentially support this kind of work, and then I'll just report back on progress, and then we'll do some work to compare the Greenworks prices to other companies and report back. Just update the council on that.
And you're anticipating this being at least a 2-year project, getting this particular proposal through fruition, and then before we can ever even begin to.
I wouldn't feel comfortable even committing to this project until I knew we had grant resources identified for the engineering and construction pieces, and we knew we were gonna be getting some more water. So in my mind, it's all dependent on that. But I still think it's worth pursuing because these things take a long time anyway, so even if we get down the road and our water still isn't quite there, we're still further along than if we don't do anything today. And it's a great opportunity that is, they're wanting to come to us and bring their money. So why would we not wanna do that? That's up to you guys.
So do you need any agreement, or what do you need from us?
No, I think I got the general consensus. It was more an informational update and just a general understanding if you supported it and wanted me to spend my time in that way. I do need the original Parks Master Plan back though. I think it's in Turner. And then, yeah.
Hey, Yamhill, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if anybody does want to see the actual plan, I do have a copy of that. You can come by.
I was a softball dad, so I can tell you,
Ah,
it brings
so you
a
know.
lot of people in.
Okay.
They are always looking for fields.
Oh, and, I'm sorry, you're next, you're up, not me.
New business, Yamhill County Transit Update and Discussion.
So that is just, to keep it short, because we're running along. Basically, I submitted the comments that came into the city to the Yamhill County Transit. There were comments on social media as well as some comments emailed to me. She asked me to send this to her last week by September 5th, which I did. And they are now going to take those into consideration. Again, the request from them was, we're gonna be putting up these new signs. And we just want to take this opportunity to ask your citizens if they had any feedback on, you know, where bus stops should go if somewhere else besides where they are. So I think there were some comments that people didn't feel safe sitting at the bus, waiting for a bus near the bank and near the ATM, or using the ATM when people were getting off the bus, vice versa. There were some comments about potentially moving a bus stop closer to City Hall, one near Patty's house. And some different things. So all those comments were submitted to them. Nothing too outlandish, but they'll take it into consideration and either do it or don't do it. But they were the ones that reached out and asked us for the comments, so.
Okay.
Either way, I think we're gonna get some new signs, and potentially a seat on one of the signs at some point, so they'll keep me posted.
Okay, excellent. Anything you need from us?
Nope,
All right.
just let you know that was
easy.
done.
And department reports, we're here. City administrators report. Please, Shelley.
This is the report for September to discuss the events from August. The police department. So instead of identifying each individual officer this month, I went ahead and just identified some of the things that stood out from their reports and just helping us all remember the different things they do to keep us safe every month. So some of the calls were handling a reckless driving call on Main and Maple, dealing with a multiple vehicle crash on Highway 47 and Merchant, dealing with a theft on Olive Street, handling a sexual assault case, and dealing with fraud investigation in Yamhill. They assisted with a stabbing in Lafayette, failed to register as a sex offender, a warrant arrest on Poverty Bend, hit and run on Maple and Main, and a restraining order violation. And then some of the things beyond the calls include regular active shooter training and lockdown drills, including at the school. Trauma-informed care team training when they deal with individuals dealing with trauma from some of the cases and situations they deal with. Dealing with animal cruelty training, so they know how to handle that when they come across it. Attending a ribbon cutting at Juliet's house, and then the National Night Out at Beulah Park. Did I say that right? And then this is just a picture of some of our officers and mayor and county commissioner, and I don't know the woman with the dog at National Night Out.
She's a state representative, I think.
Oh, she is. I don't recognize her. So just some pictures from the police department, which are rare. They don't take a lot of pictures. So our public works department, the water treatment plant, they are working with the TAG group on automation to keep the plant operating efficiently. The intake scheduled for sediment removal on 9/12, so tomorrow. They removed sludge from the track back overflow system as part of their annual cleaning. Performed maintenance on the water plant air compressor to keep the lines clean and clear. And all lab instruments were calibrated as part of their annual maintenance of lab equipment. And the water curtailment level 2 moved intake from 420 gallons per minute to 400. However, they are still providing sufficient water. Did you want to add anything to that, or?
No.
No. Okay. Water distribution, they replaced a hydrant on Highway 240 across from the intermediate school. They fixed 2 leaks within the city, cleaned the valves and flushed the lines for better operation, installed 1 2-inch meter for a resident, and implemented water line locates for PGE and Zipley. And they're going to bid on the new water line down 3rd Street and Olive. And then this is just a picture of them installing the new hydrant on Highway 240. Wastewater, they continue to recirculate the lagoons to remove the duck algae, which improves the oxygen levels. They are completed sections of CCTV areas, which they are required to do for DEQ permitting. And working with our engineers on disinfection building for this October, which is where they will replace the mechanical components in the chlorine building. In the wastewater collection system, they worked with Xylem on our influent pumps at lift station, checking for height and depth levels to ensure that there was proper communication to their MCC panel. They ordered a new transducer level indicator to ensure accurate data was being communicated to the MCC panel. They're looking into pump modifications for better load capacity and performed annual dye testing in their sewer system to ensure the connection points on the map are accurate. With the streets, they removed weeds and from curbs and sidewalks and purchased 4 solar. What are those called again?
Flasher beacons or,
The R, flashing beacons, rapid flashing beacons, that's what they're called. The crosswalks on Main Street. Performed patching on area potholes and installed reflective street signs. This picture of them doing that. At the parks, they're installing more parking at the nature trail because they continue to see more traffic, to your point. And they'll be removing the oak tree that hangs over the west covered area due to rot on September 20th. At City Hall, we had a successful city-county dinner in August. The picture of everybody under one of the coverings for dinner. And we had a stagecoach and weigh-in to honor Yamhill's history. And then we also honored our national champions, trap shooting champions. They spoke and told us all about their competition and their awards that they're wearing, so that was fun. And then inside City Hall, there's lots going on there. We're working on switching the city's in-house credit card payment processor, which will save the city 50% on all of our credit card fees. Preparing for the transition of the utility billing company, and notices were sent September 1st to all users. So so this month, everyone can pay their bills as is. October 1st, if you are set up for automatic withdrawal, you will need to change that to the new company so that your withdrawals are taken with this new utility billing company. So again, the users received notices September 1st, and Angie has
Those have
one.
not gone out yet, the notices. They're going out.
Oh, they
this
have
month.
not gone out
Yes,
yet. They're going out when?
this month.
If you have questions, you can call us at City Hall. We applied for, I believe it was Kim, applied for a cybersecurity grant through CIS for a local camera system. And our accounting clerk applied for a scholarship to the Oregon Government Finance Officers Association Conference. She's hoping to go to get some more training. And we successfully resolved a bully issue from last December that was hanging over our head. So we finally got that removed and cleared successfully. So that's good. Also, staff managed a code enforcement issue of it's an ongoing issue of an RV parking on Azalea. Managed dog barking complaint, which resulted in 2 citations. Remedied an issue involving a tree blocking street view. Helped a visitor who stopped in, was having trouble with her cell phone, and Angie helped her so she didn't have to go to Verizon. And then reunited a missing dog with its owner. So some of the extra things that go on besides just sending out water bills. Planning, as Ken mentioned, that next month or this month, we'll be doing Title 11 updates, and we'll have our first city advisory committee meeting scheduled. City Council, filling a vacant council position, which we did tonight, submitted candidate names for the ballot to the county. Made the notices for the water curtailment, and we're continuing to work with council on various legal contracts. In community engagement, some of the partners that I worked with this month include Yamhill County Transit. We did an update on our projects with our engineering and public works. Meetings with Amity, Tualatin, and Carlton on various issues. Yamhill County Council, our Yamhill City Planner, and then the Greenworks Parks proposal were some of the groups we met with. Upcoming events include the First Citizen Advisory Meeting for the DLCD grants on September 18th, ICMA Conference, the 21st to the 25th, and LOC League of Oregon City Conference in October. That's what's coming up. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
That's a lot. You guys have been busy.
Did the transition to billing and what was the other one?
Utility billing
Yeah,
transition?
didn't one of those come with like the ability to send notifications to people?
The new one that's gonna be implemented has that
So
ability
like
to
in the
send text
future,
messages.
if we have to do water, that it could be sent out through there.
You can send a text to everyone and push the button. Cool, writing the text.
Cool. Okay.
That's the new company, right?
That's correct.
It'll start October 1st.
October 1st is when we will be fully using that system.
Do you want to talk about the change of hours to the city at all? To the
I have
office?
that included in the information.
It is.
announcements at the end.
You want me to just read it or?
When we're doing this switch over, there is some training that needs to be done. for us here in City Hall. So there is 1 week in September where we have different hours, so we can be completing that training with the new utility billing. And that is the 23rd through the 27th. So included in the packet, it has the special hours, and this will be posted to the website. So everybody knows, the first day of that week will be normal business hours, closed for a full day, and then just a couple days open only in the afternoon, and then closed on Friday as per usual. During that week, billing payments will, they may not be recorded on the same day that payments are made, because we will be using those payments to try to train into the new system. But there will be the switchover happening, and then as of October 1st, the statements will look a little bit different, and we'll have that new billing provider. And we will get notice out to everybody when we have the automatic payment system set up.
So the September payment may
Everything,
not show up on the October bill because of the transition.
no, it will. They will all be included by the time you get the October bill. What I'm saying is if you paid on the 12th, it may not necessarily say the 12th is the date that the payment came in.
Oh, I see. Ms. Shelley, anything else from city administrator's report?
I don't think so. I think that's everything.
Excellent. And Officer, do you want to update for the police on any special things?
I don't think I've got anything
Special?
additional to add, no.
Okay.
Mayor, I know we're running long, but I
Oh,
think
yeah.
that with some of the public comments earlier, I would like to read the statistics.
Statistics for,
The police department
oh,
for the month of August.
do you want to do that? Okay.
I would like to just let people know, because just because you don't see the policeman outside your house doesn't mean that he's not out doing something important in our town. So in the month of August, there were 275 calls for activity. Case reports, 21, number of arrests in Yamhill, 19. Number of municipal court citations, 53. Number of warnings, 131. Number of circuit court citations, 12. Calls for citizen service, 41. Officer initiated contacts, 144. Officers chief drove 779 miles, Van Cleef 860 miles, Meller 1,058 miles. And Officer Livingston, who only worked 15 hours last month because he's the SRO, drove 93 miles. So they are out and about.
And they worked a total hours of 633 hours as a team for the month.
And that's all. That's public record. I mean, that's what happened. Those calls happened. Those miles went on the car. So.
And I normally include that in my report and I didn't this month, so I apologize for that.
No, not at all. I just thought it was important because there was some complaints about them not being there. And I mean, honestly, I'd love it if we had enough money to hire more officers. But we don't yet.
All right. Public Works, do you have any additional things to share? Excellent. Council, anything that you'd like to report or share? Newsletter.
The equivalent of my dog ate my homework. My 3-year-old deleted it this morning.
Deleted it?
Yeah.
All that work you did on
The
the
second,
newsletter?
the latest copy, I had to still have the old one. It won't take long to update, but it's kind of good that it happened because I was gonna talk to you guys anyways. I wasn't really thrilled with, I'm having a hard time like keeping it kind of council focused and then also coming up with, I don't know, enough to fill a page or two. So I was wondering like, what do you like all of us together think about like each month? You could send me something or even an idea that I can write about or something like.
I'll give you ideas. You got it
a
right.
poem about Yamhill. Anything.
I vote Shay. It's a poem about.
Okay,
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Or like photos.
I only know
or-
limericks. I don't want that.
It's-
Photos would be
there's like yeah, I don't know, I feel like I'm not creative enough to think of enough variety to include in there. But
maybe sending out an email to all of us
Yeah.
saying, I'm preparing the
Yeah.
newsletter, please send me
yeah,
what you,
That would be great.
ideas that you'd like to present.
yeah, that would be
Does
a
that work
huge
for
help,
you?
even if it's just ideas like,
Well, the first one we talked about was at least one issue where each counselor gets to tell a little bit about themselves and their time in the community and like why they're serving on council too, right? Is that one of them?
yeah, if you guys want that to be a thing.
And things like the change in the city hall hours would be
Yeah,
helpful in
or
the
I was
training.
thinking like just today afterwards, when I realized I don't have it, I was thinking like someone could write about like the upcoming like holiday events that are hosted around the city, like the trunk or treating and Christmas
treating.
events and stuff. Rather than just like throwing it on a calendar and saying, here you go.
No, that'd be great.
So, yeah, I don't know, when do you want to, as far as the timeline, what do you think would be realistic? Or,
Can we shoot for October 1st?
yeah, definitely, yeah,
How about just shoot us an email when you're ready for some things to,
yeah.
for us to submit?
Send us a rough draft and we'll send our.
Yeah, actually, how about, yeah, I'll do that, I'll send that this upcoming week to you. And,
You don't have to do this on your own, we're here
no,
to
no,
help you.
I know, that's why I asked.
Although we,
It'll be a lot better if it's not just me.
we don't know what you know about computers.
Yeah,
At least I.
that's why we need you.
No.
Anything else from council? I have nothing to report. We've mentioned our city hall hours, special hours, September 24th to 26th. Training on a new utility billing software that will be beginning October 1st. Utility billing will be in a new system, which is kind of good because the last one wasn't working very well for us, was it? All right, is there anything else for the good of the order by council? City? City, with that,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
we are adjourned. How are you?